right. Hey, everybody. Last week, and I don't think it's surprising most people who pay attention to this kind of thing, but this is rough. I don't know how much longer you're going to be able to hide this. Jamie Foxx being taught how to walk again at Chicago physical rehab facility after mysterious health crisis, a big mystery. He's undergoing intense physiotherapy to aid his recovery in an effort to get back on his feet full-time, Radar Online has been exclusively told. While mystery continues to shroud the true extent of the megastar's health, 55-year-old Fox has suffered mobility struggles after the April 11th incident in Atlanta, where he was filming Netflix's Back in Action, a well-placed source has said. So, like I said, it's not going to be something you can hide. This is nothing that's going to be worked back from very soon. Here's another little something for you should keep in mind. Beware of, I guess, tantric sex groups that are really just cults, like NXIVM. There's more of this going on. Heads of orgasmic meditation group, be very wary. If you go on Craigslist, do not answer the orgasmic meditation group headline. OneTaste has been charged with forced labor and sex abuse of followers. I wonder if they were branding people as well. The group's founder, Nicole Dedon, promised enlightenment through orgasms. That didn't last long, but prosecutors say she ran a cult-like operation. Heads of the once popular wellness group, watch out for that word wellness too. We talked about that, I think on Monday night with the YMCA changing the fitness center to the wellness center. Gotta be careful. OneTaste, which promised enlightenment through orgasms, has been charged with running it like a cult in which followers were groomed to engage in unwanted sex acts and forced to work for free. Nicole Dedon, who founded OneTaste in 2004 and drew wide attention through her promotion of orgasmic meditation, in which trauma would be washed away through partnered jacking of sorts. Mutual masturbation, that's what it is. I'm sorry, there's ladies in the room, and I did not expect this to be so dirty. In which traumas would be washed away through this partnered fun, is accused of draining her mostly women's followers' bank accounts and not paying them for their labor. You see, it's never the Keith Rainier guy. He was a big part of it, and of course, look at how easily flushed away he was. The upper echelon of the NXIVM sex cult was all women, all billionaire heiress women and celebrities. So, ladies, yes, they give you the patriarchy to rage against, but you have to watch out for one another, because can't pull any of these things off without your fellow traitors out there. Federal prosecutors in Brooklyn say Dedon, 56, and OneTaste's former head of sales, Rachel Sherwitz, 43, ran a years-long scheme to obtain free labor from followers by subjecting them to economic, sexual, and psychological abuse using surveillance, indoctrination, and intimidation. I wonder what the labor was. Do they say? Under the guise of empowerment, the defendants are alleged to have sought complete control over their employees' lives, including driving them into debt. Sounds like Scientology, too. Well, it's all cult. It's all cult behavior. And perform acts of a sexual nature while also withholding wages. My gosh. Now, I wonder where the physical labor comes into. We're going to have to save a lot of this for the aside, because it might be a bigger story than we think. We'll keep following this one. And then here's another one I want to bring on up. Tucker Carlson. We talked a little bit about this yesterday when I did a little crash course on the latest act of sabotage out there in Ukraine. Tucker Carlson's Twitter debut goes mega viral. Former Fox host crushes ratings while Taylor Lorenz embarrasses herself again. Tucker Carlson's first Twitter broadcast went mega viral Tuesday night, racking up 71.6 million views in less than 24 hours. That's as of this publishing over here. During the 10-minute monologue, Carlson slammed Ukraine warmongers took the media to task for ignoring the bombshell of the millennium in which a government whistleblower revealed that craft developed by non-human intelligence has been recovered by governments around the world, although we've had government whistleblowers and ex-military and people like Bob Lazar coming out since the 80s and well before that. The timing of this one is very suspicious, but we'll get into that over the course of the next 2 episodes, no doubt about it. Quote, nobody knows what's happening. A small group of people control access to all relevant information, and the rest of us don't know. We're allowed to yap all we want about racism, but go ahead and talk about something that really matters and see what happens. If you keep it up, they'll make you be quiet. Trust us. That's how they maintain control. A lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is in that very same category. I mean, I think it has been made pretty clear that part of the reason why Tucker Carlson is no longer at Fox is because of some of the questions and some of the topics he had brought up around election integrity in 2020. Because, of course, those in charge want you to think that 2020 was the most secure election in the history of all elections in the world. Nobody knows what's happening, he said. Needless to say, Tucker's first broadcast knocked it out of the park, further validating Twitter as a legitimate platform for major media that isn't brought to you by Pfizer, so to speak. And when Matt Walsh brought attention to this, or at least to the What is a Woman documentary that's now going around unabated on Twitter, Elon Musk commented about the 175 million views that What is a Woman racked up. He said, view count is actually understated, as it does not include anything from our API. For example, tweets you see in Google search results or on Bloomberg terminals. So even bigger. For context, Fox News 7 p.m. broadcast, listen to this, of Jesse Waters reached 2 million viewers on June 5th per Mediaite, while the Fox News rotation, which has replaced Carlson, 8 p.m. slot, just hit 1.5 million viewers Monday night. Television has always been this pathetic. Even with him on there, it was cool having somebody on there who every once in a while would drop a piece of information that would make you blush. Like, I can't believe he went there. I wish he would go a little bit deeper. But still, I mean, that created a lot of great fodder for the internet because you cut it up into smaller bits and then it goes out to where everybody really is hanging out. You know, the whole cable wars with who in primetime got 3.2 million viewers instead of 3.1 is so pathetic when you think about a country. Our country alone has nearly 340 million people that we can account for. It's so pathetic to hear about the cable news wars all of a sudden. You're in a broom closet. That's what cable news is. If that turns out to be false, we'll leave. He says, oh, I'm sorry. He says, as of today, we've come to Twitter, which we hope will be a short-wave radio under the blankets, adding, we are told there are no gatekeepers here. If that turns out to be false, we'll leave. But in the meantime, we're grateful to be here. I'm glad he brought up shortwave radio because this is how I've always approached my show. I wanted to bring a new generation of talk radio, that human voice crackling through in the woods on a small transistor. I love that. And I love the pirate nature of it, and I hope that we can keep it up, and I hope it can get more and more accessible. Taylor Lorenz made a fool of herself, as always. We don't have to listen to her and her big ears, her gigantic ears. I don't know who the hell in her family. It was Nestor. Some weird genetics through that. And how old is she again? 85 years old? Nobody knows. She's like a Dominican baseball player. In Little League, obviously 35 years old, but playing with the 12-year-olds. Everybody knows something's going on with Taylor, but she's going to keep at it. The best thing about it, though, is that CNN, in all of their complete lack of self-awareness, they went out there and they said this on the week that we learned that they got rid of that guy Licht, their new CEO, got rid of him. They have been hemorrhaging viewers. They are tanking right now. CNN had the nerve to tweet out, Tucker Carlson is back. Sort of. I mean, the ratio is incredible. The ratio on this one is incredible because, of course, if they had souls to sell, they would have sold all of them collectively for even a sniff of the views that he got in his first episode on Twitter. So all that out in front. That's all I have for you on this end of the pre-show. So I hope that you guys and gals have found your normal seat, or you have settled into a new one. Get comfortable, grab yourself a drink, pack some glass, whatever it is, and we will be back in just a short moment. Send out all those links that I've tweeted out and truthed out and gabbed out, and hopefully we can bring in some new friends and some old friends we haven't seen in a while. Be right back.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's...
Yes. All right.
It's the time of the season.
I don't know what season it is. It's like the season of the witch out there right now, glowing orange. It's so weird. I know that we have a couple more days of this. Today was intense. It really was. It was intense. You know what? I'm going to just talk about this with my in-studio guest right now. I want to introduce you to Marley Hornik of NY Citizens Audit, and she's here to talk about something very, very important. Marley, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. It's really fun to be in studio with you. This place is great.
I'm glad that you're making yourself comfortable, and I know that you came here from about an hour away, so it's so nice that you made the time for me. Is it as crazy? Are the skies just as crazy up by you than over here?
Yes, there's a lot of smoke. Our little mountaintop is actually cleaner than other places I've seen, so we've been a little bit protected. I'm not quite sure how, but
maybe it's just the height up there, the altitude. Over down here, today was the first day that I saw that we actually had these wafting screens of smoke that just went right. I said, whoa, it's not just a fogginess and a haze. There was actual smoke. And it feels like everybody around me has had a barbecue go way out of control.
Yeah, when we went over the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, you couldn't even see the river, actually, from the bridge, which is very, very hazy smoke.
Those bridges, man. Those bridges up in like Hudson Valley and stuff, they are beautiful, but those are the only ones I still hold my breath with.
I know.
Still, only ones I still hold my breath. I like think about Mothman and stuff like that. I'm thinking like something like this is going to happen. But I want to just get down to the fundamentals of you, what you do, how all this came to be, because we covered your story through the reporting of people like Wendy Mahoney over at Uncover DC, good friends of the show. And I will, first of all, before we talk about the audit, I would like to know what you did before this project. So what do you do?
Nothing of any particular import, actually. I'm a homeschool mom. I for about 12 years, I was basically just hiding out in the woods making herbal medicine with my kids. That's basically who I am until I picked up the clipboard, because I love America so much, and I was so disturbed by what I saw in 2020, and so many people saw it. You know, we all saw it. We watched it together. We watched the ballots in Pennsylvania get sequestered to the side and ordered by the Supreme Court to be counted separately, and then we watched them get counted together. We watched, you know, the ballots being rolled out in suitcases in Georgia, and the cardboard up over the windows in Detroit. It was like, what the heck is this? This is not America.
No, I mean, Philadelphia, we saw a lot of that there too. Absolutely. It was straight up gangsterism, and I'm so happy. You know, I don't know anything about you outside of this work, but it's so refreshing to just hear that, because it's another example of civic responsibility that this is the bell that really needs to be rung. It's that everybody has a responsibility to at least talk about this, to further the conversation, and to volunteer in any way, shape, or form. A poll watcher, but what you did is gargantuan in size. So I would love to just know, so obviously 2020 was the final straw for you. You smelled a rat. How do you go about organizing an audit of a state the size of New York? Because obviously you need a lot of volunteers. You need to have a plan. So from soup to nuts, what do we have going on here? What was the process like to plan that?
It was honestly, I have to confess that it's not planned. It's a living organism that is continually unfolding. And I always say to my team, I've said this from day one: we are the miracle. Don't ever doubt in our ability to figure this out and get this sorted out, because all these other people on their white horses are not coming to save us. They don't know what to do. We have to figure this out. This is our America. We're like the mothers and fathers of our generation. So if we look back at the founders and we say, wow, look at how incredible the founding fathers, and I always say the founding mothers were, because I know they were there too. Mm-hmm. But it's like, that's our duty. If we love America and we don't want to see America destroyed, which frankly is unfolding before our eyes, we have to stand up and say, we got this. The most incredible, intelligent, forensic people live in New York, so everyone was home, right? They're told, oh, you're not essential anymore. Don't go to work. Don't even call in. If you don't want to take this medical experiment, then don't even bother. And so you have all these brilliant people home thinking to themselves, wow, how do we fix this? So they heard about our effort and they got in touch with me. At that point, I was in a Telegram chat. So they got in touch with me through Telegram, and I would call them up and say, all right, well, how do you want to help? And, what's your background? What are your skills? And then we figured out how they could help. And literally that's how we built New York Citizens Audit, which we have had over 2,000 active contributing volunteers from Montauk to Buffalo.
Just in the state, 2,000?
Yep.
And that doesn't obviously include all of the national media that now covers what you're doing, which is great, because I would hope that this is inspiring other people to do the same in their states. But so once you started getting this flow of people who are interested in helping, as you said, coming from all walks of life, they live in New York, they're disaffected with the way life has been changed. How arms have been bent, and here we are in this really crazy situation. Where do you start from there? What do you have to start doing to find information and start analyzing it? Where does the analysis even begin? What questions do you have to ask? That's my next question.
All right. So we basically use the Freedom of Information law to request copies of the New York State Voter Roll Database and all 62 county databases. That's it. It's public information that you can ask for. It's our right as citizens in New York. We're very lucky, actually, in New York, because many states charge ridiculous amounts of money for that information, which is our information. Remember, the elections in America belong to the people. We fund election offices, and the election outcomes in America couldn't be more critical for we the people, because we are the sovereign of this nation. Therefore, it is our determination, our will, who gets the green light to work on writing law and enforcing law in America. That's up to us. That is based on provable and accurate election outcomes. If that is not taking place, then the chain between we the people and our representatives is broken. And as Thomas Paine said, in America, the law is the king. If that chain is broken, the law is basically rogue. And I think that's a pretty good way to describe what we're experiencing, frankly.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest reason why all these gubernatorial races in Pennsylvania, in Arizona have been so important, because what we had the Supreme Court, John Roberts himself, the Chief Justice, essentially do was allow Pennsylvania to completely ignore Article 2 in cutting out the state legislature from creating election law in the state, where it just came down from executive fiat within the state, which is not the way it's supposed to be. And that was the complicity of the Supreme Court itself. So when you think about the way that what you're saying, it's so relevant it's so relevant to constitutional order and to how that those tentacles really come back to connecting with us, and how those tentacles have now been cut. Man, I mean, that's so. What once you get all these? Oh, do you have something else?
Well, I just wanted to build on what you're saying, because that breach of the law was justified under the COVID emergency, right? So, but what we discovered little by little as we started to audit the state voter roll database in particular and compare it to the county voter roll databases is that is just the tip of the iceberg. Many of our election laws are being ignored, and they're being ignored in New York at scale. So we started finding anomalies in the database. We started having questions. How come this record looks like this? How come this record was purged on Christmas Eve? How come there's hundreds of thousands or a couple thousand records purged on Christmas Eve? How come there's over 1 million people registered to vote on January 1st? How come there's people whose birth date is 1 year in one version of the NICE voter database, that's the New York State voter rolls, and how come their birth date is different in the next version? You know, when we request a copy 2 months later, how come their birth date has changed? We had question after question after question about this data, and we started pulling up election law, which thankfully is very clear. They call it black letter law. You just look at it and you know what it means. And we discovered millions and millions of material violations of black letter election law in the New York State voter roll database, NICE voter, which is considered the official record under the Help America Vote Act. So under federal law, that database is the official record for the administration and certification of federal elections in New York State. And it is riddled with violations of the law. It's like what they did in 2020, that was just, I mean, that was the icing on the cake. But the cake, you open up that cake and it's like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? How did this happen?
Well, it obviously took a long time, and it was incremental, and nobody's paying attention. Man, I'm going to read the actual thing. One of the passages that you wrote in this letter, to New York citizens. There's an open letter that you wrote that was published in Uncover DC. But one of the things that we started noticing in 2020, especially in a lot of those bigger city polling stations, as you were saying before, is that we had it's obvious that for generations there was a group of people, mainly from one political party, that had become very comfortable of election night being their domain. And when all of a sudden there was a group, another group of people who did not belong to the same club as them, but wanted to be involved in the election, which would of course add a little bit too much conflict of interest in the room, because now there are eyes who are not willing to look the other way if you're doing something weird. Then we started getting, as you had brought up before, a lot of those instances of bullying, the cardboard up on windows. I mean, you extrapolate that out to whatever the hell led to millions of new registrants on a January 1st, or all these anomalies popping up. It's probably just more of the same, but in just a different venue. They're used to just doing whatever they want. And listen to this is what you had written, and I put this on the show once before. It said, through auditing the voter roll databases obtained directly from state and local boards of elections, we have uncovered millions of invalid registrations, hundreds of thousands of votes cast by legally invalid registrations, hundreds of thousands of votes cast by legally invalid registrants, massive vote discrepancies, and the clear presence of algorithmic patterns we reverse engineered from within the state's own official records. Can you talk a little bit about algorithmic patterns that you reverse engineer? What were these patterns you're talking about?
Well, it carefully controls the assignment of state and county ID numbers within the voting databases in NICE voter at the state level. I don't really want to get into the details of the algorithms themselves because they're incredibly complex. They're highly complicated mathematical control patterns. What I can tell you is that our research team is able to take a handful of registration numbers, and they can calculate over 10 million rows of NICE voter exactly as it appears in the database. So from, whatever, 10, 20 numbers, they can calculate over 10 million registration records, the state ID numbers and the county ID numbers in exact order. That's impossible. That's so outrageously illegal and indicative of manipulation. What happened for New York Citizens Audit recently that was a huge feather in our cap, frankly, is that we turned from being an organization that had a crazy idea that NICE voter had been breached and it was a national security emergency. And I want to thank Ed Henry for allowing me on his show so many times to say that, because nobody else would, and it was true. And that research project, which reverse engineered those algorithms and can calculate the database. And also, what else we can do now is we can predict purge status. So when you register to vote, obviously you're an active registrant, but there are some circumstances under which the Board of Elections would purge your registration, which means it's no longer able to be used for any purpose. We can predict purge status based on your state Board of Elections ID number. That's like me telling you what day your daughter was born just by looking you in the face, right? Like, how could I possibly know that about you?
Yeah.
So how come looking at a state ID number, we can accurately, over 99% accuracy, predict the status of that voter? We can predict whether or not that voter has more than one state Board of Elections ID number, contrary to black letter election law. These are things we can do because of the algorithms. Again, the math itself it's mind-numbing. You don't even want to talk about the math. It's so complex. However, God gave us a beautiful person who was able to discover this and able to reverse engineer it, able to walk it back, which is a miracle. But what just happened for New York Citizens Audit is his work, Andrew Paquette's work, was peer-reviewed and published in a scientific journal published by experts in the arena of cybersecurity and cyber intelligence. And basically, the term that's used for this kind of algorithmic programming, because not only does it control information in the database, it's also deeply, deeply hidden. It's so impossible that we found it, is all I can say. That's the only way to say it. It's called steganography.
Steganography.
And when there is steganography, according to the Cyber Intelligence Information Security Agency, the federal agency that oversees election security for the entirety of the United States of America, and our voting systems, in case you don't know about this, our voting systems are part of our national security infrastructure. So they are subject to the strictest cyber intelligence and cybersecurity protocols. When you have steganography in a database, that means that it's a total loss of control data breach. That's their term. It means that the information in that database has been destroyed and cannot be trusted. No dimensional aspect of that data can be trusted. So if you're talking about a voter roll database, you can't trust name, you can't trust address, you can't trust date of birth, you can't trust registration date, you can't trust voter history. I mean, what's the point in having a voter database if you can't trust the information in it? And then actually it means that the data has been destroyed. It's unrecoverable. The database is toast.
Okay, well, I got a few questions for that. The first question is this. Explain to me what opportunity is created for anybody who's, because, you have said this here. This is the second part of this excerpt on Uncover DC. You said to be absolutely clear, there is no known innocent purpose or explanation for why these algorithms exist. I am told by cyber intelligence experts they indicated total loss of control, as you just said. The most severe kind of data breach recognized by our federal government. The law says it renders the affected NYS voter database completely untrustworthy. My question is that you had brought up the fact that that you can see how many voter ID numbers have been created for each individual person. That if it was in duplicate or something like that. Am I getting it wrong?
Well, yeah, you're getting into the territory. So basically what the system does at this time is it creates multiple identities for the same person.
Okay.
So what ERIC, for example, the ERIC database system is supposed to do is it's supposed to find different instances of the same unique individual across databases or inside of a single database, and it's supposed to help to resolve all of those different instances of a person into one record, because it's very confusing when you have multiple instances of the same person, especially in a voter database where you're counting votes for federal elections. How do you know which registrations count? How do you know which votes to count?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
It's complete chaos, actually, to tell you the truth. And it's a violation of the law. So the law says in New York State, this is New York State Codes, Rules, and Regulations 6217 5E. I've got it wired.
Oh, yeah.
It says, NICE voter shall assign a unique statewide identifier to each legally registered voter that stays with the voter for their voting life. That's the law. The Board of Elections has a different opinion. They say, well, that's how the database is designed. But, it doesn't always work that way, and extra registrations sometimes come in from the DMV, and they don't get caught. Well, we're talking about, they're saying, just a couple of extra registrations. We found 1.1 million unique sets of personal identifying information, assigned 2.4 million unique State Board of Elections ID numbers. That's 1.25 million extra opportunities to cast votes. But the voter has no access to that, because you have to have administrative access to NICE Voter in order to cast a second vote using this method. When voters go to the polls, you get a ballot based on your name and address. Nobody knows their State Board of Elections ID number. Nobody knows how to cheat this way.
No,
and 1.25, I just want to say this because I know you guys have an audience all over America. 1.25 million excess State Board of Elections ID numbers is more than the population of, what is it? Wisconsin? No, it's Wyoming, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, and one other, maybe Rhode Island, all put together. I can't remember what the sixth state was. I did this, I had like a Twitter math night, and I got into this whole thing because I was trying to help people understand. They're not allowed to call this a clerical error. This is more than the population of 6 United States territories, states.
Yeah.
Together. That's not a clerical error.
It's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. I know this is staggering, absolutely staggering. But what I'm trying to wrap my head around is why do you need to effectively clone a person 1 or 2 times over? I mean, what if it shows up that a person is voting more than 3 times in the name of that person? Why not just create a dummy person or resurrect the dead? Or I don't know why. What's the deal with that?
Well, that's an interesting point, and it's obvious to us because what we started doing, and I personally launched this Canvas effort because I felt terrible for people. I really felt like, wow, the State Board of Elections, some of these people have 11, 20, they have huge numbers of registrations in NICE Voter, and each one of those is a minimum of 3 felonies. And these people, if the Board of Elections ever came after them, how would they defend themselves? They don't have, data experts who volunteered for like a citizens audit operating on their team and software developers and programmers coming in and working for free. How would they ever defend themselves against the idea that they had committed all these felonies? So I said, we have to tell these people that they're getting framed. And so we started this Canvas effort, which I was a little pie in the sky about it, I'll be honest. I thought, wow, they're going to open the door and they're going to be like, whoa, the State Board of Elections is framing me for all these felonies. I want to take action right now. But in reality, most of them were watching their TV show or getting their kids ready for a ball game or doing their laundry, and they hadn't spent the amount of time I had reading state and federal election law. I mean,
I mean, at the very, maybe you got to just start telling them what's going on in different ways. Like, this is identity theft.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, it's arguable whether or not that would actually hold in court, but I see it that way. I agree with you, Frank. I think it's identity theft because when you create a fraudulent official document in someone else's name and you use that official document to commit a felony, like casting an extra vote, that's identity theft, actually. That's the definition. And you have millions of cases here, and you have many people casting double votes. We had 2,600 people cast a double vote in 2020. We had about, I think about 1,400, something like that, people cast a double vote in 2022. Something interesting about that, you know, to me, this is prima facie. I know it's not, but to me, just with your own spidey senses, if you had people doing that in 2020, if you found 2,600 people in New York who actually figured out how to hack into Nice Voter and assign themselves a second or third vote using their State Board of Elections ID number, knowing in advance that they had these excess registrations in there, knowing how to find them, which was frankly quite complicated, and put them together side by side. And then they did it in 2020, but then they didn't do it in 2022. 1,400 or 1,500 different people did it in 2022. That's just so not plausible.
No, no, it's not. And you know, the other thing I'm thinking about here too is, I mean, the Beaver woman, Kathy Hochul, she is so detestable, and I knew that it would be a long shot just based on the trajectory of New York elections and all that stuff, but she beat Lee Zeldin by less than 400,000 votes in a state that traditionally, and we're going to get into the idea of tradition in the age of voter fraud like this. Traditionally, a Democrat should have walked away with it. If you're talking about 1 million plus votes, I mean, the margins in which you can create so much chaos and swing elections that are especially this close is just incredible. And this makes me feel even more that she actually lost to Zeldin.
Well, I have no idea who won that election.
I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, I know.
Just talking for me.
I know. What I argue and what New York Citizens Audit argues is that not only do we not know, but the State Board of Elections doesn't know either, because their database is in a total loss of control data breach. So whatever excuse they give for the 1.1 million people registered to vote on January 1st and the 1.9 million registration records that, contrary to the law, exist in the state database but not the corresponding county databases, and all of these other giant anomalies, that the 338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted in 2020, according to their own official records. No matter what they say to excuse those, they actually have no idea who won the 2022 gubernatorial election in New York. They can never, ever prove it because the data is in a state of complete chaos. There's forged records, there's destroyed records. This was a very expensive piece of programming added to Nice Voter, and either they are naive and don't know it's there, but didn't bother to check and make sure the database was straight. You see, the problem these certifiers have actually is that you have this complete chaotic system, right? It's just noise, tentacles, rabbit holes. It's a giant mess. And there's one Achilles heel. There's one point in the entire voting system when someone has to put pen to paper and say, looks good to me. And that person has an affirmative duty before they put pen to paper to know that the election is accurate, to have verified that the election was accurate using the auditable record trail that was mandated by a Democrat law. The Democrats passed the Help America Vote Act, which set the error rate for federal elections, and it set the auditable record trail as a mandate under. I'm not going to get into all the acronyms, but it's very, very stringent. They set this into position. That certifier, before they put pen to paper, has an affirmative duty to check all of that and make sure that no part of our voting system was breached in their state, and that everything was unwaveringly faithful to the federal and state laws that govern that election. The reason they have to do that before they certify is what I talked about before. If they don't, if the election is not provable, that chain is broken between the people and the authority to assign people as assigned representatives who write and enforce laws. If that chain is broken, then who's running that organization? It's becoming a criminal cabal because it's not oversighted by the people anymore.
Yeah. It's like having a town with a backwards building department, just doing whatever the hell you want. We have a lot of experience with that over here in this town too. Let me ask you again, because you brought it up a couple of times, and I just really want to get this down. But the idea of national security risk, national security threat. When we say national security threat, national security risk, most people think of the open border. They'll think of the national debt, which is definitely a national security risk, because if you're racked by debt, you can't get through a real crisis. And then when the voter rolls are this bad, obviously the autonomy of a state is the first death. This is the autonomy of an individual state. But explain why some have categorized New York State's situation as a national security threat. Again, for me, because I want to really understand that, how it extrapolates out.
Sure. Basically, it's very simple. Our voting systems have been designated as critical national security infrastructure by the federal government. That includes the voter roll databases. People talk about dirty voter rolls. That's a misnomer, really. If you have a dirty dish, you can wash it. You can apply hot water and soap, and that dish can be just as nice and fresh for the next user, right? A dirty voter roll database that is being manipulated at scale is uncleanable. It's not a dirty voter roll. It's a breach of a critical national security infrastructure system. Who is allowed to register to vote in New York State? Who is allowed to cast ballots according to that database is part of determining the security of our nation, right? That's the founding principle of America. Our founders were geniuses, actually. They were so meticulous, and they crafted a zero trust system. They'd had it with living under a tyrant. They meticulously and deliberately crafted a zero trust system in which transparency and accountability under the law applies to everyone. And the transparency of our election systems couldn't be more critical to maintaining the principles of liberty upon which our nation was founded. How can you have freedom of speech? How can you have freedom of conscience, freedom of religion? How can you have all of these beautiful liberties, which we were gifted? It's our duty to protect them, but we were gifted them because we were born in America. How can you have those under a system where the election officials ignore the law and tell you who won your election, and they can't prove it to you?
It's and when you say it that way, it's even worse than that, because what we really do is we wait around for the media to tell us. I mean, 2020 was we were literally, and I remember Axios and others were telling us what the game plan would be around the time that they were putting out that whole red mirage theory. Here's how it's going to be. First of all, election night is no longer a thing. It is election week, perhaps even election fortnight, 2 weeks, a month, who knows? That we've been privileged up to this point to be able to actually have tallied those votes over the course of an evening and know who won in one place or another by the next morning. And then they told us that it's going to look like one candidate's going to be running away with this, and then slowly, surely, it'll all go away. And from that point on, we need to wait for the Associated Press to tell us, declare the winner. I think most people are waiting for the Associated Press and things like that to say what's what, instead of, I don't even know if anybody would be able to, if you put $1,000 in front of them, who certifies elections in your state? I don't think anybody would be able to say it. It's just, oh, well, I heard it on the news. And that's just really how detached we are. But that's the bigger thing now I want to talk to you about is the psychological warfare aspect of all this. First, I'll ask, have you spoken, have you been in contact with, have you shared notes and homework with any people who are in your position in other states? I know that there are people trying to audit Pennsylvania. I know this is going on elsewhere. How connected are you to other people in other states who are doing what you do?
Well, I've been very connected to many people doing this work in other states. And actually, on that basis, and because of New York Citizens Audit determination to not only run an investigation, but to compare our findings with the law and put them side by side, which puts us into a unique position to work as a plaintiff litigating against the New York State Board of Elections and saying, Houston, we have a really huge problem. These people can't prove anything about our elections. We found this, we found this, we found this, all of our particularized claims, which there are many. And so we're actually, this is inspiring us because let's say New York Citizens Audit does create a litigation impact before the 2024 general. What does that do for America? Nothing, right? Nothing is what I'm saying, because there's 49 other states where it's still going on. So we decided to launch USA Citizens Audit. And we're actually now actively recruiting the people in all of those other states because, nobody else has an answer. I'm so frustrated by this. The people on their white horses are not saying, we have a plan. Let's move together. Let's move forward America with a plan. I am not in favor of black box voting. Don't get me wrong. But it's not reasonable to think that 3,200 more counties in the next 10 months before the primaries start are going to unplug their voting systems and use hand-counted paper ballots. We've been arguing that for 2.5 years. A handful of counties have bravely done so, which is great, but that's not going to stop 2024. We, the people, have already done the work. It's so extraordinary to me how much canvassing effort, how much data analysis, how much I know these people. I've had meetings with them across the states. They're so dogged and they love America so much and have worked so hard. And I decided, and my team supported this, I said, we're not going to let all that work go down the drain. We're not going to stand down on 2024. We did the work. We're going to find the law. We're going to put it side by side with the law. We're going to fundraise together for litigation in every state where we have evidentiary claims. And we are going to pre-position standing in states all over the union on November 6, 2024, because they can't have our country. They can't have it.
No, they can't. But something? I love the idea that you're recruiting now everybody else in other states to go along with this to make it national. But if you were able to get that things really quote unquote, and I know it's a bad word, cleaned up in New York, and all of a sudden the state assembly and Congress and even the governorship goes, at least, even balances out a little bit. And Republicans win in places where they never won before, because all of a sudden there is no longer a gigantic, ridiculous handicap. That would be enough to shock the damn world if all of a sudden New York, look, for example, look at Florida. After the last 2 election cycles, nobody's talking about Florida being a battleground state anymore, and all they did was make a couple of really reasonable cleanups in the state. They got a couple of really bad people out in places like Broward County and elsewhere, and all of a sudden it's like it's no longer in play. That state's not going blue anytime soon, and it's not because of not solely because of a big exodus, because that's just in the last couple of years. So I guess that comes into that's my first thing. Going national, that would be incredible, but it would also be one hell of a thing to see something pop off in New York, and people would say, what the hell?
Oh, we're not abandoning New York. No, New York is the key. New York is setting the template for how we get this done in state after state. And I agree, a victory in New York it's in our sights. We can show and demonstrate that our elections massively violate the law. They cannot certify something that violates the law. That's way out. The only thing election officials are authorized to do is follow the law. That's how we keep our liberty. That's their job. It's like a very high honor position, which is interesting, right? Because we always talk about, election integrity. I say that term is dead. It's done. Elections can't have integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing when no one is watching. Right? An election can't do that. It's not a moral being. Yeah. Humans are moral. Elections are either accurate or they're invalid. That's it. Those are your two choices. And we have to help the people realize this election integrity term, you wanted to talk about information warfare, that is fake news, election integrity. Elections can't have integrity. I know how data people see it. I understand that there's actually a technical way of looking at the integrity of data, and that's what it really refers to. But in our minds, no. Hell no. It's either accurate or it's invalid, and that's the only thing those officials are allowed to do is certify an accurate election. Hold tight to the law.
I use the term election integrity all the time, and I guess it's one of those things where unconsciously or subconsciously I know what I'm talking about, but when you really think about the things that we speak into existence, it does personify things that do not deserve personification. It's people who have integrity or not.
Yes.
And it's just a really wonderful point. I know 2020 was the straw that broke the camel's back for you. What about the 2020? How much of the 2020 New York general primaries really inspired you prior to November? Because in June of 2020, that was when they were rolling out and really testing a lot of the mail-in ballot stuff. These penny saver mail-at-home ballots everybody was getting, not absentees or anything like that. And I remember I think that it was election night, November, and still we did not have an accurate account of what the primary results in New York was. And I know that still at that point, especially in New York City, there were Democrats and Republicans who had open lawsuits against the state or their certain municipalities or wherever, because things were just they felt like they were so messy. And of course, it took so much longer to get accurate readings, and people from both party persuasions felt jilted about one thing or another. So, did you pay any attention to the primaries in all this? Obviously, it's I guess the same thing, but still. Well,
the primary that really caught my attention was 2022, the Republican gubernatorial primary, actually. And this is not evidence, but the number of people who went to vote in the gubernatorial primary, and because at that point we had New York Citizens Audit up and running really strong, and we had a great website, and we had a citizen report form, and we also had, many people knew about us in different precincts. Many of our volunteers are poll workers, so they're already invested in elections. And we were getting reports from all over New York State of many people. So it would be like 2 or 3 people per polling site would have this experience that they went to go and vote. They're Republicans, been registered Republicans their whole life, and they show up to vote, and their registration record in the poll pad comes up with either a blank party affiliation or a Democrat party affiliation. And now they're not allowed to vote. That's it. You can't vote if you're not in that party for that election. And some of those people really fought and argued. Some of them actually went to judges that day and said, I must cast my ballot. I know I'm a Republican. But if you have 2 to 3 people per polling site that this happens to across New York State, that is a margin of victory of 45,000 votes.
Wow.
And each polling site is thinking, this is so weird. How did this happen here? Now, I don't know if that was fraud. I mean, I know it was fraud that these people's records were being tampered with, and I have some ideas about how that happened. Don't have any evidence. I'm not making a claim. I'm not here saying that I know how that happened at all. But I saw it happen, and I think it's very suspicious. And when you have a state database that where we know this is what it means when you have a total loss of control. It means the State Board of Elections thinks they're holding onto the steering wheel, right? They're like, oh yeah, here we go. Oh, it's just it's an extra registration from the DMV, and we're just going to excuse it. We're going to wave the wand for 10 million registration records. We'll just wave the wand. That's what they do. Regardless, the steering wheel is somewhere else, and they don't know where it is. Nobody knows where it is right now. We don't know if it's, if it's the state officials, if they're corrupt state officials. We don't know. We might have the most uncorrupt state officials in America for all we know. I mean, I kind of doubt it, but it's possible. But the database is out of their control.
Right.
That's what that term means.
Right.
So how did their registration records, their poll pad records come up different? Well, there's a lot of different ways that could have happened, because actually we ran a little mini research project. We tried to get in touch with as many of those people as we could. Many of them were contacting us, and many of them were posting on social media. We said, oh, please report this to New York Citizens Audit. Come to auditny.com, fill out the citizens report, and tell us about it. I got in touch with tons of those people. I mean, tons. Okay. 40, 50.
That's a lot of phone calls,
It's
Mara.
a lot of phone calling. Okay. But tons is a little vague.
Right.
I admit it. So we figured out that 25 of those people were people who had multiple registration records in Nice Voter. And therefore, it's entirely possible that it was a, quote, clerical error. And for some reason, Nice Voter spit out the wrong record for that person, because some of those registrations are affiliated with different parties. I mean, this is the problem. The chaos in the election system is disenfranchising voters. Now, voting law is generally civil rights law. This is the Democrats love, and the Republicans would love it too if they were in control. They love to use civil rights law to weaken the standards over elections, actually, so that they can control outcomes, because there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money involved. Frankly, let's just be honest, right?
Yeah.
If the chain is broken, there's a whole lot of cash sitting over here that's coming from the American people that's not being correctly oversighted, and that attracts people who are lacking in that integrity.
Oh, I remember in 2020, it was December of 2020, Bill de Blasio, it was obviously a few weeks before that runoff election in Georgia that would decide what the makeup of the Senate was going to be. And Bill de Blasio just came out and said that, he was being asked about the city budget going into 2021, and he couldn't really give an answer because depending on how the election in Georgia went, he'll know how much money was going to be sent to New York City so he can continue running his show into the ground. So yeah, there's plenty. We're talking about billions, and when you
Yes.
talk about the bigger office, there's plenty of money that is generated and spent in New York State alone. But when you talk about these higher offices and things that people run for, we're talking about the ability to steer the flow of trillions of dollars. So
And that's our money.
Yeah.
Where did that money come from? It came from the American people. It didn't just come out of thin air. It's not just printed. That's our money. That's what I'm saying. We have to say, this is enough. We want valid elections that obey the law. You can't keep using our money and just burning it up. It's like an addiction. It's like they're addicts. They're running America. They're addicts. They're addicted to burning up our money and patting each other on the back and putting out press releases. It's not working for us anymore. When you're dealing with people who are addicts, you don't ask them to fix the situation. Hey, I know you're addicted. Hey, let's, what do you think? Should you go into rehab or not? What are you thinking? No, you have to help that person. You have to cut off their supply. You have to pray for that person because that's a terrible circumstance for them individually. And then you get up and you fix the problem. because they're not capable. They're not in a position to fix it. We, the people, it's our money, it's our country, it's our kids. We get up, we fix the problem. We want valid elections that obey the law. And here's everything we've found. The last 2.5 years, the incredible investigations done by the American people, we found all of these circumstances where our elections were provably inaccurate. I'm not talking about, were the ballots that went from Bethpage to Harrisburg, what happened? I don't know what happened with, we still don't know what happened with those. It's not provable. We want the provable inaccuracies that were certified anyway, the breaches of black letter election law. And then we can have our country back. It's not, it's not the country we had 4 years ago. We've taken some serious hits, but we can start fixing it and start putting it back in order, start making it harmonious, start making it abundant and beautiful. Our beautiful farmland, the health and the bright promise of our young people, all of these things can be renewed.
Especially when you think about a lot of the farmland that is just signed off to gigantic international corporate interests from who knows, maybe governing bodies that are not even legitimate, but are just carrying water. And you have. I mean, what is a solar farm? What does it grow? It grows sunlight. Don't you understand? It just grows energy from the sun.
You can eat that? Can you feed that to your kid? Is it healthy?
No,
I don't know.
You can't eat the birds that it destroys as they fly over the solar farms and get zapped like a microwave as well. I mean, every sustainable technology they run out there actually destroys ecosystems faster than everything they were trying to correct or avoid. But and there's so many little questions I have for you, but I don't want to keep you all night. But like for example, you talk about all these duplicates. Well, I know of at least three or four personal friends of mine in both New York and Pennsylvania who went to the voting booth that night to go and write their name in, pull the lever, and they were told you already voted.
Right.
They didn't need a duplicate for them.
Yes, that's the chaos of the voting system, and we have to put our foot down and say we've discovered that our voting system is in a complete chaos. We've discovered that in New York it's a total loss of control. And actually, you were talking about the impact, for example, of a win in New York, and I don't dispute that, and I'm going after that. Our team is, we are like dogs on a bone. What we've discovered, it's not going to be forgotten, and it's not going to be cast out on standing. We are very, very, very smart people acting in a very strategic fashion because the people of New York depend on this win. Actually, our children depend on this win. We're not going to screw it up. We are going forward. We are going to win. But the total loss of control data breach, the steganography, not only did we reverse engineer it in New York, we have reverse engineered it in New Jersey as well. That hasn't been peer-reviewed and published, but it's a fact. We are working with an incredible team of researchers in North Carolina, and there are clear, irrefutable signs that it's in their database. We're working with a brilliant researcher in Ohio, clear, irrefutable signs that their database, the assignment of state and county ID numbers, is being manipulated in the same way.
Wow.
It's not exactly the same algorithm, but it carries the same intent, which is basically to be able to track, and this is the part where it looks like this is what's happening. For example, why would you do this to a database, a voter registration, if it wasn't to be able to track information about those registrations that's not in the record that's publicly available and assigned by law? So, it is a way. We can't prove yet that it's being used this way, but this is a way. If you have 3 million fictitious registrants, right? Because I didn't even bring that up. We've gone, all of these excess registrations assigned to the same people, we've gone and canvassed them, and we've discovered many, many instances in which the people simply don't exist. There's a guy with 21 registration, unique State Board of Elections IDs in the Bronx. And we went to his address. They're all assigned on the same date to the exact same name, address, and date of birth. So it's not, there's no identity
But he didn't
mix-up
move.
here.
He didn't die. He never
didn't
existed.
move. We went there. He doesn't exist. We looked him up in the Bronx, and we looked, is he somewhere else? We found another address for someone with his name, which is a pretty unique name. We went to that address. It was a Western Union office. This guy doesn't exist. So some portion of these are fictitious from end to end, you know, and so.
And as you said before, 3 here, 3 there, all of a sudden there's tens of thousands of votes when you go from one side of a state to the other.
We found almost 700,000 votes in 2020 were cast by people who have these multiple state ID number registrations. So maybe they have 4, and one of them voted in 2020 and a different one voted in 2022. How did that happen? And some of them double voted, and we have people who triple voted in 2022. We have people who've double voted in 18 elections. It is chaos. And you go and talk to those people and they say, I didn't do that.
So court date. Do you have a court date? What is it? When can you save us? No, wait. Court date. Let's say that you have your court date is tomorrow. I'd love to know what the plans are for actually getting this adjudicated. But what are you? Forget about confidence and probability. I'm sure that you have the best of the best working there. But what do you believe would be able to be compelled by a court in New York? What are you looking for as far as what's the big victory? What do you want a court to compel? What action do you want compelled in New York that would fix this? Is it just it's all going away and a new system comes in? I mean, how do we clean it up?
Well, I think and everyone's not going to love what I'm going to say. I think we have to do it in stages. One of the things that makes our arguments so strong to go into court is that not only have we made all these discoveries, but we've reported them officially since May 9th of 2022. We brought the evidence of the massive deficit, the 338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted, to that data. We brought the excess registration data. We brought the information about the votes cast by registration records that clearly violate black letter election law, but yet they were allowed to vote. So how did that happen? Was each one of those votes investigated? And how come the records weren't updated to accurately reflect the repairs that were made? We brought all of this to the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, the State Board of Elections, and the heads of the Republican and the Democrat parties on May 9th of 2022. We brought them with service of process. We have stamped, signed receipts from those agents admitting and acknowledging that they received these documents from New York Citizens Audit. We brought them in the form of a petition for redress of grievances pursuant to the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which is that's like the trump card. That's like, you have to respond. This is a constitutional duty. You swore an oath when you took your office, and we're bringing this in a form that you absolutely must respond to, other than a lawsuit, which we had no money at the time. But they knew. Then in June of 2022, we met with the state police, the Special Investigations Unit of the New York State Police. We met with them for 4 hours, sequestered in an office in Albany with the smartest guys in the New York State Police. And we showed them the algorithms, and they couldn't believe it. They were absolutely floored. They thought that they were going to have a 20-minute interview with some nut jobs wearing red hats. They did not expect to see a forensic investigation laid out in front of them, end to end, nearly complete already at that point, demonstrating that the voter rolls had been breached. And they said, we want to help you. We're going to bring this to the best and the brightest. We don't have jurisdiction over a state level, like a federal election. We don't have jurisdiction in that circumstance. We can't investigate this. We have to bring it to the Foreign Intelligence Task Force of the FBI.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened. Nothing. So in June of 2022, we told them the database was breached. The SIU agreed that this was a critical breach of our national security infrastructure. They brought it to the FBI. When we got another copy of Nice Voter in December, the New York State voter rolls, when we got that in December after the 2022 general election was certified, it was certified on December 15th. We got it a couple days later. Algorithms still in the database. They broke the law when they administered that 2022 election. The first thing we're asking for, because we want to go into court with an ask that a judge is going to agree with, we want the books opened up. We're asking, we have people actually all over New York State. We have hundreds and hundreds of people. I think we have 168 towns already have been presented with what we call the resolution for an end-to-end audit of New York's 2022 general election. Why audit, right? Why are we auditing and not just going straight for the jugular? Honestly, we need to know where the breaches took place. The voting system starts at registration and it ends at certification. Our elections right now are like a precious jewel, and they are surrounded by this interconnected tapestry of state and federal laws. Every time a piece of data, whether it's on a piece of paper or it's electronic, enters or exits through that tapestry, there's an auditable record created. We have to open up the books, just like if you had fraud in a bank. You don't just, go after one guy and say, well, this is all your fault. You open up the books and you figure out, where the heck did we go wrong? How badly did we go wrong? Was it deliberate? Is it possible that there were legitimate errors made? How do we fix it where there was a legitimate error? Because the first thing that we have to do is secure the 2024 voting system. It has to be secure. It has to be able to produce an accurate, provable result. So
your goal is you want 2024 to be on the up and up in New York.
Absolutely.
Oh,
it has
man.
to be.
Please, when you leave here tonight, make sure that every update, everything I should know, because I know that people in this audience, now that they know that it's not just a New York story, and it's a story that really runs the gamut across the whole union. And of course, the audience, they get invested in these types of conversations we have and want updates. Please do not spare any updates. I want to know where you're going to be, when, and pass things along. This is very, very incredible stuff, because there's not a lot of time on the clock.
No, there's not. We have to get in the position. It has to be already in the court records that we've brought everything in advance. We're not litigating an election. We're litigating a voting system that has gone rogue. So we're not asking a judge to say this person was elected, but the other person should have been elected, or it's so close that I can't figure it out and we have to re-administer the election. All we're asking for is a judge to say elections must obey the law. The State Board of Elections has to fix this. Let's open up the books. Let's figure out every single place that the critical controls, the security controls for the voting system, were breached. Let's figure out what the error rate is at each one of those breaches. Let's figure out what the heck is going on with this total loss of control thing they're talking about, that the Journal of Information Warfare Cybersecurity Cyber Intelligence experts agree is real. 3 of them said, wow, looks like steganography to me, looks like in-band signaling, looks like a terrible, terrible breach. The judge is going to, how in that instance is a judge going to say, well, actually, this looks fine to me. You don't have standing, and the State Board of Elections is doing their best with a really complicated problem. No way. Banks process millions of transactions every single day accurately. There's no reason the Board of Elections can't verify the identity of their voters, their registrants. Banks do that every day. There's no reason that they can't keep track of more than one record of a person and resolve them down to a single one. Actually, in the law, fascinatingly, when we looked for all of these, what we call the cloned registrations, they're not duplicates, okay? If you have the same personal identifying information and it appears in more than one instance in the database, and it has the same State Board of Elections ID number, that's a duplicate. We'll give you that, because that person can't cast more than one vote. We came up with our own name because they don't actually have a name for this. When you have more than one state ID and you're the same person, we call them clones. I know other state teams have come up with their own names because they find them too. You know, this is going on all over the place. But when you have that circumstance, and I forgot what I was going to say. Drat.
It's all right. Listen, you've been blowing us all away tonight. You are afforded at least one brain fart. Jeez, my God, it's incredible.
What was that? Yeah, I know, but I don't remember what I was going to say. It was like, you know what? It's a mess.
Yes.
That's what it is.
It's
a mess. It's contrary to the law. Okay, check this out. We have 1.25 million excess state ID numbers assigned contrary to the law. We have 1.9 million state records in the they're in the state database, but they're not in the county databases, which is a prima facie breach of state board of elections law. I'm not going to go into it, but it's just crushing. We have 2.4 million excess ID numbers total, since we've discovered that some of those initial identifiers are fictitious end to end. We started adding up. This was my Twitter math project that night. I started adding up all of these. Now, they don't add straight, but I started adding up the violations, right? Because some records have more than one flaw. I started adding up all the violations. It's more than the entire population of the state of Wisconsin. How do you think the people of Wisconsin feel about that being called a clerical error?
Oh, I know. You know, and this is the other thing here too, that anybody that would be opposed to see these numbers and be opposed to addressing this, not seeing how it affects. This is not a political issue, but you know, there's a lot of people in this state who like the culture, who like the security of knowing, well, we live in New York, Democrats win here. That this is subconsciously a advantage, and they don't want to rock the boat. I would have to say, I'm just speaking on my behalf.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel there's a lot of people that don't want to rock the boat because for some people, the results that continue coming out are pleasing to them. And that's the last question, or the last thing I want you to comment on, and that is when we talk about election integrity as a psychological weapon. The term itself is a psychological weapon. It kind of throws you off there. But first you create another reason why it's a weapon is because first it creates a situation where a state can become swayed undetected, and if you repeat that a few times, you get the results that you want a few times. Suddenly people inside and outside the state start believing that a red state is actually blue, or just for the sake of fairness, a blue state could be red if it's being swayed the other way. And then abnormal results become the norm. It then becomes a weapon to de-incentivize people. I know around here, Nita Lowy for 30 years, I mean, she just walked into Congress. There was quite a few times she was just ran unopposed because who are you going to, who are you going to run against Nita Lowy in district, where are we over here? I think this is the 17th district. Unopposed. It de-incentivizes people from voting at all because just like most traditional Americans who don't find themselves on like a progressive side of things or whatever, we start feeling like, what the hell's the point? Okay, yeah, here I am, a constitutionalist living in Westchester, New York. What is my vote really going to matter at all? So that's the other part of trying to de-incentivize people from actually taking part in this civic process there. So I guess my question to you is, since you've been so down and dirty in the evidence and the numbers and the staggering numbers they are, do you think that New York is as hopelessly blue as we have been conditioned to believe?
We're in the middle of an information war, and New York is ground zero. Nobody knows what's really happening. Nobody knows what New Yorkers believe. They can't prove it. That's the problem. That's their problem. It's not our problem. It's their problem now, because we figured it out. So now we can hold them accountable, because no one can prove what New York really is.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is it's ground zero in a massive information war. What is the point of information war? It's destabilization. If you want, okay, and you mentioned this before, and we never really quite got back around to it. National security infrastructure. Why are voting systems national security infrastructure? Because that's how we determine our governance. If you want to, let's say, take advantage of the greatest free nation that has, let's say at least of modern times, the most incredible free nation of modern times with incredible abundance, beautiful people, great education. I mean, this is how America was. I'm not saying it's like that today. We still have this potential. It's not like it's been removed, but we're in this fog. We're in this horrible fog that's turning family members against one another. It's turning community members against one another. It's making Republicans and Democrats mortal enemies. This is not healthy. This is an attack on our culture. And the voter rolls matter. The voting systems matter, because if you want to try to, let's say, increase your advantage inside of that system and take advantage of that system, let's say you're a crook, what better way than to, deeply embed hidden programming into the voter roll databases that allows you to manipulate election outcomes little by little. You're in control. So you can over here we'll throw them a bone so they don't think the system is hopelessly rigged. We'll throw them a bone over here. We'll throw them a bone over here, and we'll throw this guy a bribe to be quiet about it for all we know. I'm not saying I know, but it looks like that for sure. So that's the destabilization of that country or that state, that territory, for someone else's advantage. If I did this interesting talk like over a year ago. I was talking about the correlation between the what they used to call the Indian problem and the American patriot problem. You have a bunch of people armed to the teeth, highly self-reliant and resilient, very well educated, and absolutely unshakable in their faith. You don't want to face them on a battlefield. You're going to get wiped. Right? You are not going to win that battle. So you have to attack them somewhere else. And they talk about, in the Declaration of Independence, one of the grievances was the quartering of troops in our homes, right? Now they're quartering the troops in our minds. That's where they're conducting this war. We have to get straight. We have to get absolutely straight that the way we fix America and take back our beautiful system of liberty that we were gifted is to break this insane problem with the voting system. We want valid elections that obey the law. And again, I remember what I was going to say going back. It's like you go to a judge. What judge, if you're fighting an election outcome, that judge is in a terrible position. If you're saying, Judge, we know our election system is breaking the law, and we just want them to follow the law. That's all we're asking for, right? What judge can say, having sworn an oath to uphold that fundamental principle, nah?
It's very, very smart, especially since any kind of inquiry of this kind is automatically the straw man that's created is, they're denying elections. Like, no. I'm not asking for anybody to be removed from office. We're not trying to redress a grievance because our person lost wherever that person was. Or this is about, we have found a problem that affects everybody who belongs to all parties or unaffiliated, that we are not living in an actual democratic society. There's the tool of democracy that makes republicanism, little r republicanism, possible, is not there for us. That this, it's very, very, very smart. And I'm so happy you came here tonight. This is a wonderful, wonderful talk and full of fire. And so, I guess in closing, what's your next step? Do you have anything on the docket? Are you just doing more media now? Are you getting ready to prepare something for the courts, or do you already have something in?
Well, we have counsel, which is a huge step because we didn't have counsel for a very long time, and it was this open question. We now have counsel, so we're actively preparing. We are also actively fundraising, so if you want to support an effort, a legitimate effort using real evidence and data to save America, please go to auditny.com and chip in what you can. It's a 501c3. Every single penny of your donation goes directly into our actions. We are all volunteers. And that's also how you can begin to donate to USA Citizens Audit. It's also how you can begin to volunteer, either for New York Citizens Audit or USA. If you go to auditny.com, hit the volunteer button, and tell us about you, tell us about your skills, how you want to help, and we will do our best to right away get you active on this battlefield, because it takes all hands on deck, and we are definitely going to win this fight. And we have, as far as the New York Citizens Audit effort is concerned, what we're doing, again, is we're active at the town board level right now, which has proven to be a very effective strategy. Last summer, we went to the county legislatures, and we didn't get a lot of response. We thought we brought them shocking information, and they dismissed it. We're going to the town boards one by one, and the impact is shocking, actually. People don't know what to do.
That's, hey, I'm glad.
So I want everybody to come and be a part of that. You can also follow us on social media, New York Citizens Audit News on every platform. I'm on Twitter personally, Marley Hornik. I dabble in Truth Social, let's be honest.
Yeah, everybody dabbles a little bit there.
But I'm really most active on Twitter.
Well, I'll make sure I tag you on Twitter when I release the recorded version of this later on tonight. Great. But we're live. We have a great audience right now. People are just eating your work up. It's really been a fantastic talk, and I guess, that's really awesome to go to the town councils. Are you also talking with sheriffs and all that too?
I have personally met with quite a few sheriffs in New York State. It's a very tough nut to crack at the sheriff level, because it's a state level manipulation. Right. So it's tough for them to get involved, but we do have them canvassing double votes from 2022 where they've been willing to get involved. That's an area where they can, that's a crime. So they can investigate it, and then they can post their results. We can take a look at what they found. And now it's just a nicer, it's a heightened level of evidence to be able to bring in our little quiver when we go into court. So
you make me very proud to at least for now, still be a New Yorker. I really, because I always tell people, we get a really bad rap. We get a really bad rap because of, things that go on in the city, especially when things are not good, when the things that go on in Albany, but the rest of the state is it's a gorgeous state. Mm-hmm. The people, geographically, it's just, we really are blessed over here, and man, oh man, we're gonna be praying for you, and you got to let me know anything that we can do to contribute to the effort, and I'll keep updating people, and hopefully we can crack that nut, because as you said before, it feels like if this dam breaks, it's just going to go to every other place in the country, because this would definitely garner quite a few headlines.
Yes, I think seeing the Democrats, and again, I'm not advocating for one political party or another. I'm not impressed by either right at the moment, but seeing them put their stake in this territory and claim it, I'm going to leave your audience with one last thing to contemplate. If there's 5.8 plus million, and these are the ones we found, million records in Nice Voter that violate the law in a material fashion, what's going on with apportionment? Because the census scrapes that data every 2 years. So is it possible that New York is overrepresented in Congress? That's not a popular opinion. When I say things like that, that doesn't make the New York State GOP want to meet with me, but they didn't want to meet with me anyway. We brought them data, and they didn't want to look at it around 2022. Are
you talking the state legislature or in D.C.?
No, I'm talking about federal apportionment. Electoral college votes, Congress. okay, so if our voter rolls are that inflated, is that impacting apportionment? If you take all of the states where the Democrats currently have their stake in the ground, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, now coming on Arizona, and you actually sit there and you add up those electoral college votes, if we don't push back on New York right now, it's really not good.
Oh, I know. Why?
We have to push back on New York for America, but we also have to push back everywhere else. It's like one state is not enough. We have the right argument. We have the right way to do this, and the people did it. That's who did this. Because we love this country.
That's one thing that I can say, and I've seen it already get expressed in the chat rooms, that they can feel the love and the care coming off of you. So you can't do something, you can't undertake something like this without a real, genuine passion for something, trying to do something bigger than ourselves. So I'm again, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. We went well over what we thought, and I'm happy for it, because now there's less work for me to do in the short second half. So now here's the real question.
Still going.
How quickly, as soon as I cut to this music video,
Put my stuff in the bag.
you put your stuff in the bag, because I don't have an intern here to bring you guys to your car, so we're going to have to get you to the exits.
Take a sip of water.
Yeah. Take your time. Do you let me know? Has everybody taken their sip of water? I have 5 minutes. This is a 5-minute long music video. I come back and I'll run. You guys just fast walk with me, okay? Alrighty, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I will be right back. I'm going to escort these lovely ladies. You've only met one of them, but there's 3 lovely ladies here. I'm going to escort these lovely ladies to the exits, and I will be right back. Enjoy a little bit of a ditty you haven't heard in a while from my band, not quite frankly, from Set the Charge. Don't let them in. We will be right back.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to
Quite frankly.
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 We all support quite frankly.
Not quite.
Quite frankly.
Let's go, Brandon.
Quite frankly in Roma, Italia.
Quite frankly. You're going on Frank's show tonight?
I want to get a Coke. Can I get a Coke?
So everybody watch, quite frankly, with Frank.
We're dealing with for calls. NJSF says, great guest, great interview. Questions from Marley. Has the stenography been found to identify the voter party registration? Should have asked her that, but I did not see this. It's a great question. It's a great question. You know, I guess to break it down by voter party registration would be an interesting metric, but I think the more impactful one would be just to show everybody how it doesn't matter who you are, your votes are not safe. Now, somebody might be voting in your name or in effigy, you know, one of the clones that they made for you. But like I said before, in many different contexts, if you enjoy something that is happening in society, something that is being compelled by authoritative sources, so called, and you just so happen to agree with what they're pushing out there, that is just a convenience. It's just convenient that you agree with them. There are a lot of people in New York State, many millions, according to what we listened to tonight, and again applies to all of your states, your respective states too. Many millions of people in New York State. What do you want? This is why you shouldn't have snuck into the room, because now the door is closed. What do you want me to do? Open it up? She wants me to open up the door. But many millions of people inside of New York have been disenfranchised regardless of how they vote. Now, it has been made a certain way that there are results, and results have been made to be what they are by somebody. Because, again, just to quote a little bit of what she put in that really staggering report, to be absolutely clear, there is no known innocent purpose or explanation for why these algorithms exist. I am told by cyber intelligence experts they indicate a total loss of control data breach and most severe kind of data breach recognized by our federal government. So no innocent purpose or explanation. So things are going according to plan for somebody. Now, in the mix, I'm sure that there are plenty of people who appreciate the election result, but again, it's not because of something they did. It's not because of their, going to the polls. Hold on, this damn cat snuck in. 1 second. Go, get out of here. All right. I'm back. So, we'll see where it all goes. Hold on. The newest information that comes in. Stove Soup says, Frank and Frankly's, we meet again. Great Wednesday and even greater show. Be well. Thank you for not only for the support, but the encouragement. I really appreciate it. It's a wonderful morale boost to get this kind of interaction from people and from their contributions to the show. I also want to say a little something. We are going to be putting out a little bit of a promotion in July. Where is it? Let me just tell you right now that I'll go into detail a little bit more tomorrow. Lauren has been helping me come up with some really great ways of having fun with people from month to month. Monthly incentives. Here you go. So we have a patron contest that we want to do. We're going to be giving away a Quite Frankly beach towel. It's the $30 towel that's on the Teespring site. So we're going to be giving away a beach towel. It's going to be a super chat contest in July, or is it June? It's a super chat contest. Wait. No, the July promo. Never mind. I have to make sense of these notes, and I will. Anyway, we're going to be doing a special where we're giving away postcards, very special patriotic postcards, and we want to source from the audience what is going to be on the postcard. So if you have a personal design or anything like that you think would be fun, we would like for you to put them and tag me in the Gilded in the Quite Frankly fan art section, in the Contribute Frankly section on the Gilded. So that's one thing. We're going to be doing a lot more Gilded stuff there. Last night I streamed from the drum set into the Gilded video chat, which people said did not exist, but it most certainly does. So we're doing a lot of special streams in there, and soon we'll be taking calls from the Gilded, just like in the old Discord days. But now we're just not on a totally compromised platform. So just a little fun for as long as it lasts. All right. Over on Rumble, Cremo says, in 2016, the DNC stated in a Florida courtroom that they are not legally bound to honor their party's primary election results because they are a private corporation. They honor shareholders, not voters. Oh, yes. And in 2016, the only shareholder was the Hillary Clinton campaign. Cremo also says the belief that the state cares about your vote or your law is hilarious. They only care about your belief in your vote. Well, that's how it's all gone on from there. Poso for Hope says, this is very inspiring. Thank you, Marley and Frank. Hey, Marley did all the work. I'm so happy to have just been able to have some time with her and ask her some great questions. Chai Possum on quitefrankly.tv says, good evening, Frank, Franklies, and Franciscans. See, that was very inclusive. Thank you, Chai Possum. Finally, somebody not declaring war on the new radical sect of audience members. Sean Joe, thank you. Rise Attire says, amazing patriots like this woman have been awakened across the country. Our enemies are done for. Great guest. Oh, let me go up to the top. Paulie, thank you. Sean Joe, thank you. Robert Sarnes, again, thank you. Rise Attire says, Frank saying most people are waiting for the waiting for the AP to tell them who won is a grave injustice to our majority. Well, I mean, it's not an injustice. It's just a reflection of the truth. That was the rubber stamp on 2020. We were, for days after the election, we were checking the television and anywhere else that had the polls showing the lead, the over 100,000 vote lead in places like Pennsylvania, whittle away, until the authoritative source, which the Associated Press has been deemed to say who the stillborn president-elect was. Let's see here. Chai Possum says, Marley is amazing. Thank you, Frank. I feel so much smarter. I feel smarter, but I also feel comforted. Because who knows what happens from here on in. But again, Marley is an example of the people who are doing amazing things in places like New York that are considered in a very pop culture kind of a way to be hopeless, despotic places, which it's not hopeless. And even though we have very despotic people in state government and in media and whatever, people are people. And that gave me a lot of hope and a lot of comfort. EO2 Dave says, I hope Marley has given this info to the new Congress. Well, I don't know what she has given to the new Congress, but if it starts going national, then maybe. I mean, when she said that she was dealing with the FBI, I said, oh no. And then imagine my shock when she said that nobody called her. But it's great to hear that other states are doing this. There are people, citizens of other states that are doing the same exact thing, and there's a little bit of coordination between everybody, so they know what to look for and what to document. I think those are all wonderful, wonderful things. Okay, a couple of random items here. I got this from Zen Lama Bill. This was about NATO taking control of our Gerald Ford carrier group. He said, Frank, I was immediately up in arms over your article saying that the carrier group was controlled by NATO. It's always been my understanding, I'm a retired U.S. Army, that the President of the United States maintains command over all U.S. forces, that no foreign units can command U.S. forces. However, this prompted me to do search to verify what I thought I knew. I was correct, but only semantically, thanks to Bill Clinton. Here's an excerpt from Command versus Operational Control, a critical review of PDD 25 by J. William Snyder. On May 3rd, 1994, President Bill Clinton signed Presidential Decision Directive 25, PDD 25, a policy directive outlining the administration's position on reforming multilateral peace operations, the result of a 14-month interagency review of U.S. policy regarding multinational peacekeeping operations. PDD 25 sets forth several stringent requirements that must be satisfied before the U.S. will participate in future international peacekeeping operations and suggests ways in which the UN could improve its management of such operations. In one of PDD 25's provisions, the Clinton administration attempts to clarify the position of the United States with regarding command and control of United States military personnel participating in a multilateral peacekeeping operation or operations. The directive defines command of United States armed forces and operational control of those forces. They distinguishes the two and maintains that although the president never relinquishes command over the United States military personnel, he may place United States military personnel under the operational control of a non-U.S. commander for limited and defined purposes. That is a relinquishing of command. That is a temporary, defined, well-defined, limited time basis relinquishing of command. Bill goes on to say, so even though it galls me, Biden is able to give operational control to that battle group to NATO, I still say it's bullshit. It is. It is. And this is why I say lawyers have ruined the country. This is the kind of damage a lawyer does to the law. Listen to that tortured language just to be able to give international military bodies control over our property, our boys, our girls out there serving this country in any kind of official capacity. Just incredible. I can't believe that all it would take to give that kind of autonomy over our military or any portion of our military to foreign nationals, that all it would take is a presidential directive written by, that's all it would take? A directive? Right there from the Resolute desk, all of a sudden, get out of here. Again, precedent setting, legalese, and lots of bad habits turned into tradition. With all the trappings of law and order and all that stuff. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. Oh, man. Oh, man. 8:52. I've got so much more to do with you tomorrow. And I guess we should just wrap it up here tonight. There's no time. There's no time to do anything else. And we've got Leo Zagami coming on tomorrow. Remember, we are only going to be live until about 8:30. I'll start a few minutes earlier, so we'll only shave about 15 minutes off of the total show because you are all welcome to hang out for Book Club Session 2, especially and only if you are a monthly sponsor of the show. Please consider being that. because it's a tough thing to do, to compete with everybody else, and it's just, it really is a wonderful, wonderful passion of mine, and I'm so happy that we've been able to do as much as we have with as little as we've got. But a little goes a long way, and you guys are just the bee's knees. Love you all, I really do. And if you have anything else you want to add to tonight, a question, anything else, please send it to quitefranklypodcast@gmail.com. Now, for tonight's Badass, I have a very special one to do with you. And so I want to get around to that. Let me see. Do I have everything all worked out? Yes, I do. Okay, so here is what we got for our Badass tonight. Very, very special one. I can't wait to do it. Here it is.
That's some badass shit. It's pretty badass.
Yes, it is. And who's the badass tonight? Who is this little fella right here? This is Aaron. This is Aaron from Chicago, son of our good buddy in Chicago, Nick. And Nick submitted his son Aaron to the show as the badass of the evening. And he says this: Frank, my June badass is my 8-year-old son Aaron. He wants to follow in his big brother's footsteps, so last year he tried out for the travel baseball team. They won their fall baseball league and practiced all winter. As the season approached, his stomach began to hurt, and he ended up having an emergency surgery to remove lymphoma from his intestines. He cheered his team on to a second place finish in a Memorial Day tournament, and is ready to play his first official travel game Sunday, 3 weeks after his surgery. Monday, he will begin, this is the last Monday. The Monday he will begin chemotherapy, so it may be his only game this year. I'm proud to be this young man's father and coach. Really just wanted to share my boy with you and asking for prayers. Nick from Chicago. Aaron from Chicago is our badass tonight, and he is one hell of a badass. And I hope that he enjoys the rest of the season. He's part of that team no matter what. And I'll tell you, Aaron, if you are listening, I've had plenty of times in my 16 years coaching Little League where we had teammates that were sidelined for one thing or another. They got sick. Some had Lyme disease. Some had, things that really just sidelined. Some have broken legs, whatever the hell it is. There's always a reason sometimes to have to sit it out and to heal up and to get better. But nothing supplements your sportsmanship and your time on the bench with your teammates. That means the world. It really is. And that just means if you're not on the field, you have to be extra over the top. You got to be doing the book, be doing the book with your father. Learn how to do the book now. How are you scoring? What's going on? Learn the situations. Give everybody the support, the pep talks that they need. Go coach third base a little bit if you have to go do that. Learn the signs. Go and do it. You are getting a front row seat to the best education in the game you can get. And then when you're ready to go out there and kick ass, you go and you kick ass. And you must kick ass. So all the best. All the best, and I can't wait to hear all the great updates. Heal up, my friend. We are very proud of you. All right. With that, I wish you all a good night. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, we will be here again to do it all over again. All right? Thanks, everyone, and thanks again to Marley Hornik. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatters, starting with, where the hell are they? Outa. Oh, I didn't see this. Outa. I don't know how it's around you, but in Buffalo, can't remember the last time we had clear skies. Oh, it's terrible over here. I'm sorry, Outa. I didn't see that until right now. Poso for Hope. Thank you so much. Thank you also to Cremo. Thank you to my friends on Rockfin and JSF for all the tips, and to all my friends over on Foxhole. It is Rabbit Hole Wednesday. I don't know what's playing, but enjoy yourselves. On Quite Frankly Podcast or Quite Frankly Superchat.com, thank you to StoveStube. Hope to see more of you here tomorrow hanging out, and enjoy your evening. Good night.